I love video games. Here's some that you can play for 1 billion hours and never get bored, apparently, according to this video.
We have Mountain Blade 2 Bannerlord. If you know anybody who's jumped into this game, this is definitely your dad's war game. It is a lot. This is a game where
I'm a dad, I guess, then.
You can complete the main story in like 40 to 60 hours, but it's all the other stuff you do in this game that'll really keep you busy. I mean, you're going to spend a ton of time strategizing, planning out your battles, and then executing and winning these long, drawn-out battles, but then it's all the other stuff. You're living in this world. Sure, you're going out there and you're trying to conquer and expand and all that, but when you come home...
Mountain Blade Bannerlord is a game where you can become a merchant and you can go and buy fish in one city and sell it in another city, and then in the same week turn around with your warband of 150 people and lay siege to the city that you just sold the fish to, conquer it, give it to your king. Honestly, it's a really good game. You get right into the thick of it. I absolutely love it. I haven't spent like 100 hours playing this one, but I did spend 100 hours playing the previous one, which is sick, because you get to be a proper medieval knight. You get to go and do all the sieges. You get to you get to slap the wenches. You get to build a house and put a horse in it. All the cool things about being old.
You got to actually be in charge of raising those armies. You're going to actually be taking advantage of politics. You're going to be making your weapons, managing your commerce and your economy, getting people to fight for you, and just generally controlling your fiefdom.
Oh, there was a Game of Thrones mod for this as well, which is actually like kind of sick. I don't know if they put dragons in it, but you can do everything that you want to do about being a medieval person. You can go to another lord and you can trade all of your gold for their daughter, because that's how it used to work back in the day.
The actual base.
Can you overthrow the king? Yeah, you can overthrow the king.
Just a completionist run really is going to take you quite a long time. These games.
If you get sick of it, you can say, man, fuck all you guys, you're boring. I'm gonna make my own kingdom instead. And then it's impossible to make your own kingdom because everyone else is immediately mad at you because I guess you're just not allowed to make your own kingdom. What, a man can't have hobbies now? I can't make my own kingdom? What, men aren't allowed to do anything these days? Jeez, can't make my own kingdom with the servants in?
These are incredibly thought-provoking, kind of overwhelming medieval sandbox-style games, but they can be so addictive once you really get into it.
Next over at number 9, we have
so good.
Bloodborne. Now, this one kind of depends on how good you are at Souls-like games. Like, if you're a master at them and you're a speedster, you can cruise through this more quickly. But if you count Bloodborne, the difficulty, and all the other DLC and stuff, like the old...
I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna have everyone revoke my gamer card after this, but I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get on my feet. Here we go. People are gonna be mad. They're gonna revoke my gamer card. Okay. I'm standing up on my own 2 feet right now. I'm doing it here. Let me get the mic. I bought Elden Ring and then I refunded it because I wasn't good enough at it and I wasn't enjoying it because I kind of suck at Elden Rings and I wasn't having very much fun, so I refunded it. That's it. I said it. My gamer card is revoked. I know it's a great game. I know that people love it. I know people had a really good time on it, but I wasn't having a good time. I was running around this dungeon and there was like flame coming out the wall and I was trying to figure out how to get through. I was trying to time my runs and I was like, oh man, I keep dying here and it's like I'm not enjoying it all that much. So I refunded it. I'm sorry. I know my gamer card is revoked. No one will ever forgive me.
In this game because the main game is incredibly lengthy and challenging. A complete
skill issue.
That is going to be at least 70-75 hours depending.
I'm gonna be completely honest, it's 100% my fault that I'm not good enough at the game. This is not a take. I am not having an opinion. I'm just not good enough to fully enjoy it, which is why I play other games for babies sometimes. I literally play Pokemon. I mean, come on, that game's so easy, you know?
Who you are. Then you have the Old Hunters DLC, which gives you a good chunk of time, and a lot of people really enjoyed that. And then you have a bunch of time you can spend in the Chalice dungeons. There are players still to this day spending a bunch of time there, and if that gets you hooked, you will spend a lot of hours with this game.
However, my one thing, I watch streamers play this game instead, and I get my fix through watching other people play it. So that when I see someone spend 17,000 hours fighting Melania 5,300 times, I can say, haha, oh man, that looks tough. That looks really hard. And then I don't have to do it. They have to do it. And I just watch them die and get all mad. And I'm like, ooh, I don't have to get mad. That's good.
Also, not to mention the fact that like it's still one of the best. There's a reason why people still want this game to be patched, look a little better, run a little faster.
I love the aesthetic of this game, though.
God damn, there is no other game like this. Obviously, it's a From Software game and it's a Souls-like game, so there's that whole gameplay thing that only they can perfect. But the rest of it, the art style, the boss design, the mood, the atmosphere, nothing quite nails it like Bloodborne did, and that's.
Do you guys know that they modeled Bloodborne after Victorian England? But they had to kind of pull back on some of the most extreme stuff when they were making the game. They're like, oh, we can't put that in. That's so crazy. We couldn't put that in. It's so wacky and silly. So it's a more toned down, normal, down to earth version of what Victorian England would have actually looked like. So
Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen. Now, if you've ever talked to a Dragon's Dogma fan, you probably know the deal by now. Every single Dragon's Dogma person is about this game, and that's for a reason. This is an awesome world that you can get lost in for a really long time. If you love fantasy RPGs, or hell, I'd even say if you're not really into fantasy RPGs, specifically because this is Capcom's spin on a fantasy RPG, so it's a bit different. Like, yeah, you have your knights, your wizards, your dragons, but
I was one of those idiots that saw this when it came out and thought, oh, that's just a Skyrim ripoff, isn't it? But that was in like 2013, and I was like, what, 17, 16 at the time? So yeah, I was a bit of an idiot back then. But looking at the story, it's kind of crazy. They're making another one of these, aren't they?
Capcom flair to it. It's got a little Monster Hunter. It's got a little bit more Japanese influence, and that amounts to just a really incredible game experience. Next, over at number 7, we have Kingdom Come Deliverance. This game found an audience for a reason.
This is a completely different take on fantasy. This is if you wanted to be the actual peasant. If you wanted to sit in your little grubby wooden house and you want to die of dysentery over a period of 6 months, this is the game for you.
Really kind of more realistic take on a medieval adventure with more accurate portrayal of towns, villages, cultures.
There's no dragons in this one.
And the RPG elements. Things are slow, deliberate. You have to take care of your character, and that means you can really get immersed in this world of medieval Bohemia. You go from a low-life peasant to a badass knight, but it takes a while, and the main quest can take you a good amount of time for a typical open world kind of RPG survival thing, but
this is the kind of game where you go into the wilderness and pick flowers and then realize that you actually picked like poisonous nightshade by accident, and then you die and you have to go back 3 hours in gameplay. Seriously, when they made Kingdom Come Deliverance, they went out on a mission to make it the most realistic medieval game that's ever existed. When you swing your sword, it's like swinging a piece of cinder block. When you pull back your arrow for the first time, it's not like in Skyrim where you immediately grab a bow and you're like, yes, I know how to use this. I've had this for 15 years. I know exactly what to do with this. It's like, oh, I just picked up a bow for the first time. I don't even know how to load it. How do I even do this? You need to do training to figure out how to even fire a bow. It's insane. It's so ridiculously realistic. Like, he's just like banging someone over the head with a sword over and over again. No, this has like an insane cult following. It's honestly, it kind of deserves it as well, because they did a really good job with it. Even if it feels kind of clunky and the controls are very clunky, you feel super heavy. Red Dead Redemption 2 kind of heavy when you're walking around. You're like, yeah, this is definitely a sack of meat and organs that I'm pushing around the screen.
Next, over at number 6, oh boy, of course, we have The Witcher 3. Now, what more can we say about The Witcher 3 after all the ports, re-releases, stuff like that? The Witcher 3 is a fantastic RPG. It's a massive open world that you want to get lost in. You want to play as Geralt of Rivia, really embrace the world, the cultures, the fantasy elements of these games based off of the classic Polish fantasy novels. The Witcher 3's got grit, it's got heart, it's got adventure, it's got gore, it's got adult themes, it's got
You can't have a video without fantasy games without jacking off The Witcher 3 for at least 5 minutes.
Dashing men and women and spooky monsters and political intrigue. It's got everything. Not only does it have everything, but it also has a shit ton of DLC that'll make
Oh, you want to make a video about fantasy games, do you? Okay, well, make sure that you get at least 15% of the video dedicated to just jerking off The Witcher 3. You have to do it. I mean, it's worth it. It's good. It's a great game. One of my favorites. Fantastic game. It's all worth it to get to that sex on the horse scene.
You a whole new area, a whole new world of Toussaint, and that'll probably take you like 30 hours. And that's not to mention the main game, which is so massive. There's a lot of people out there that just never finished it. Kind of like a Skyrim, where it's like you just play and wander around and side quest forever and forget about the main quest. The Witcher 3 is one of those.
The combat in The Witcher is so funny. He's like pirouetting around his enemy. He's like a ballerina dancer, which is actually very cool. It's very cute. Also, the Blood and Wine DLC is probably some of the best DLC that's been released in the last like 10 years.
Next over at number 5, we have Divinity Original Sin 1 and 2. Because these games are absolutely great, incredible CRPGs that are worth experiencing.
Divinity mentioned? Divinity mentioned? No, there's no way. This never happens. Divinity mentioned. This is a big moment. Oh my god, this is an absolutely huge moment. I can't believe Divinity mentioned. Round of applause. Whoever made this video, impeccable taste. So smart. Smartest man in the world. Divinity, that's crazy. That never happens.
Larian Studios are now like legendary RPG builders at this point, specifically because of these games. These games have an incredible amount of depth, pretty massive and interesting worlds, tons of well-written, interesting quests, and the game just accounts for all these crazy things you do. Whatever type of player you are, whether you're a mage or an elf or a wizard or you're undead. The game, the NPCs, the quests and stuff will all respond to who you are and what you're doing in the world, and it's really cool to see unfold. There is so much depth in these games. You can play them with other people, but playing them alone means you will spend a massive amount of time in them. And we're going to be talking about the developer Larian a little bit more later in this video.
Oh, I know exactly what they're going to be talking about later in the video. Dude, Divinity Original Sin is such a good game that I hear no one talk about ever. No one ever talks about Divinity Original Sin 2. And it's such a shame because it's so good. God, it's so good. Listen, if you need an RPG, if you're looking for a little bit of humor, if you're looking for some great writing, if you're looking for some interesting new types of combat that you've never experienced before, if you're looking for quests that'll make you think, or make you say, haha, that was actually kind of funny, you need to play this game. This game is fantastic. This game is just from the ground up an absolute gem.
You are not enough. You are...
Dude, you can do anything with the magic system in this game. You can spit some grease on the floor and then ignite it. You can put some water on the floor and then shoot it up with lightning. You can summon creatures. You can kill someone and then resurrect their body. You can do anything you want. It's such a good game, seriously. Oh my god.
Next over at number 4, we have Dragon Age Inquisition. This is the one that really still...
What? Dragon Age Inquisition? I mean, okay. I mean, there is like the first one. That's kind of like better, right?
To this day has a cult following. People fell in love
with
with the world of Dragon Age since the
Inquisition,
original
really?
game, but for some people, Inquisition was the one that really locked them in. I don't know what it really was. Is it the more open exploration, the bigger worlds, the kind of building up your town, the learning to love these companions that you have, some of them incredibly memorable. I don't know exactly what it is. It's hard to put my finger on, other than the fact that it's one of the last great BioWare RPGs, which definitely helps. Because with that,
Dragon Age Inquisition was after BioWare already fell through for me. Like, Mass Effect 3 and Dragon Age Inquisition came out, I was like, uh-oh, BioWare is falling off. Dragon Age 2 was like McDonald's version. Dragon Age Inquisition was fine, I guess. It was kind of weird. It was in between trying to be like McDonald's Dragon Age 2 and going back to original Dragon Age Origins, which Dragon Age Origins, oh my god, what a blessing. What a blessing. We don't deserve that game. What a great game. That was fantastic. We, as humans, probably don't, like dogs, we don't deserve Dragon Age Origins. Absolutely fantastic game, but I don't know, there's just the characters in Inquisition, I barely remember any of them apart from the bald guy, which I remember bald people because bald people are cool and I love bald people. They're fantastic. But Inquisition, I remember all of them. I mean, it's the Origins, I remember all of them. You had freaking Anders on the DLC. You had Morrigan. You had Alistair. You had Liliana. They were all fantastic characters. And I haven't played Origins in like 7,000 years, but I remember them. I don't remember anyone from this game. I'm so sorry.
Comes a bunch of great, compelling questing, branching storylines and conversations, and just an experience that you can easily spend 100 hours in.
I think I played this once. I played Origins maybe like 6 or 7 times, so that's probably why I don't remember them. You know what annoys me about some RPGs, and now I respect Baldur's Gate 3 for being able to do correctly, is every single sword, you're like, oh, am I going to trade in my sword for this new sword? The inventory management, it's so annoying. I don't want to have to check every single sword to see if it's slightly better than the sword that I already have. I don't want to see if it has like maybe 2% more fire damage. I don't care about any of that. Baldur's Gate 3 is so sick because a sword that you get at the start of the game and a sword that you get like at the end of the game have marginal differences, but it's based in the effects. So it really depends how you build your party and how you build your team rather than, oh, this sword does 7 billion more damage than the first sword you got because it's just a better sword that does 7 billion more damage. Of course it does. What do you mean? What are you, some stupid idiot? Like, what do you mean?
Now, next down at number 3, of course, we have Baldur's Gate 3. This newly released RPG based in the world and rule sets of Dungeons and Dragons is absolutely incredible. You build your character or choose your character and set out in a world that is filled with decisions to make, experiments to try, and a game itself that is just always willing to spit something back out at you. The combat is incredibly challenging, but it can be really fun turn-based action. But it's really all the other stuff. It's the conversations, it's the branching storylines, narratives, it's getting to know the complex backstories behind all your party members that really makes this compelling.
Baldur's Gate is, I'm not gonna lie, probably one of my favorite games of all time. I haven't even finished it, and it's in like at least top 10 videos, maybe top 5 video games of all time. It is such a pleasure. It's so good. They released it and they were like, no, we're not going to do microtransactions. Of course, we're not going to do microtransactions. We're going to release a finished game. Why would you not release a finished game? And all the other developers are looking at them like, what? You can't do that. You can't release a finished game. What are you doing? You need to sell cosmetics. Where's your skin packs? Where's your loot boxes? You can't release a finished game. How dare you release a finished game? God, what an absolute blessing it is. All the characters are so sick. I'm in Act 3 right now. I'm about to finish maybe the game. I think I have like 15 hours left in Act 3 because there's just so much content in it. And I'm getting all the emotional payoffs from all the character stories that are built up over the course of my 60 hours of playing this game so far. But by myself and with friends, you can play it multiplayer, and it's so fun multiplayer. It's a completely different experience to playing it with friends. It's so amazing. I just love it. Everything about it, I just love it. There are some little giblies that, you know, aren't great and maybe could use a little bit of patching, but after this game has been patched a few times, it might be top 5. I think it's better than Zelda. I'm gonna say, I know everyone's like, oh, Zelda, Zelda, Zelda. I think Baldur's Gate deserves Game of the Year more than Zelda does right now. That's right, I said it. And if Starfield comes out, and if they hit the landing on Starfield, then this is probably the best year of games that we've had in like 15 years. We don't deserve all the games that we've had this year. We don't deserve it.
So over at number 2, we have Elden Ring. From Software's latest
Uh-oh.
open world, and
yeah, I played Elden Ring. I remember playing Elden Ring. I played it for like 5 hours, and it was super good. I'm just not skilled enough to play Elden Ring, unfortunately.
And it is massive and incredibly lengthy. Whether you're just trying to work through kind of like
it's
the
pre-game
story or dabble a little bit here and there, or be a completionist, you're going to spend a lot of time in this game, because not only is it challenging, so you have the From Software thing of just trying to actually beat the game, spending hours and hours trying to master these bosses, but it's the open world they built that is just so huge and so filled with secrets that it feels like you can endlessly explore. And frankly, for like 100 hours, you can.
I remember walking out of this starting area, and there was a guy on a horse, and I was like, oh, cool, a guy on a horse, and he killed me really quickly.
Not everything is spelled out to you. There aren't big giant markers glowing saying, go here, there's a secret here. No, you just gotta like...
No, there's not big giant glowing markers, but I did go into this kind of underdark area in a little cave, and there was a little gargoyle who was waiting around the corner, like the little slivery bastard he is, and he jumped at me when he came around the corner, and then I died again.
Organically stumble upon this stuff and seek out adventure for yourself. And that's what makes...
Yeah, I was seeking out adventure myself, and that's why I went into this little cave, and I killed the goblin. I killed the little gargoyle goblin, and it was I felt pretty good about killing the gargoyle goblin, and I went around the corner, and there's a flamethrower, and then I died.
Makes it so cool. There's so much more. There's massive cities, wide open fields, complete underground areas that are almost as...
Yeah, I saw a city in the distance before it was too bad and refunded it.
Big as the regular map. It's staggering how big Elden Ring is and how fun and compelling it really is. There's a reason why people have been obsessed with this game. Unless you're living under a rock, you've definitely heard about it by now. And we're not even
I've heard about it.
The planned DLC expansion. We don't know when it's coming exactly, but...
Sounds like you had fun. Yeah, no, I had a really good time. I had a super good time. Can't wait to get back into it, actually.
To this game, and we're excited to see that. Now, next down at number 1, we have The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom.
Okay.
This one is a recent one, and it's absolutely massive. It is essentially Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, but with a ton more to do. Sky Islands, hidden underground areas, and...
Now, I don't want anyone to take me saying that Baldur's Gate is better than Zelda as any kind of dunk on Zelda. Listen, I love ascending into mountains as much as the next red-blooded human being. I love fusing together sticks and stones and making a car and then hitting it and then going off into the distance only to accidentally run over 3 foxes and a deer, feeling really bad about it, dismantling your car, and then it lands on a bird that just landed next to you as well, so you cry and you feel really bad about that as well. I love that as much as the next person. I think this game is fantastic. I think it's great. I kind of wish the weapons lasted a little bit longer, but listen, this is one of the best games that we've had in 5 to 10 years. It's just that this year has been so good in terms of games that you can really invest a lot of time into. We are blessed as gamers to be living in this day and age. Look at the Zelda. They released a full game as well. You see what happens when you release a full game? It doesn't have microtransactions. It doesn't have random day one DLC so you can get the full story. It doesn't have all this unnecessary multiplayer components. They just release a really good game and it comes out and it's just really good and it works well. It's got a lot of polish to it. And then guess what? The game sells really well. It reviews really well. People really like it. And then the executives in EA and Ubisoft are like, wait, how did they do that? I don't understand. I don't get it. Like they released a game and people like it and it's getting good reviews and makes a lot of money. No. Did they? We should put more loot boxes in, actually. I think that's how they did
more
it.
Puzzles and ways to experiment with physics.
Dude, you could do so many things. I think you could spend 100 hours in Zelda and be like, what, 75% done? And then eventually you could start a new playthrough. And then if you really want to torture yourself and spend 7 billion hours doing nothing at all, you can go into the depths. I'm not a big fan of the depths, to be honest. It seems like a whole lot of running around and not a lot of stuff. There's the mines down there. That's fun. There's the mines. And every single NPC you talk to is one of those goddamn ninjas. So every time I see an NPC in the distance, I'm like, oh no, it's a ninja. And you go and talk to them and they're like, haha, I'm a ninja. And I'm like, yeah, wow, you really shocked me there. I had no idea you were going to be a ninja this time. That's crazy. Because like every other guy was also a ninja that's down here. In fact, there was no normal people down here. So yeah, you got me. Congrats, dude.
Whether it's optional bosses, hidden dungeons, just finding weird items, trying to complete every single weird little puzzle with that guy holding up the sign, or of course, Korok seeds. If you are a completionist,
why would you ever try and get every Korok seed? There is no normal person in this world that gets every Korok seed. Only Small Ant gets every Korok seed. I will say, there is no game that has made me feel as smart as Zelda, but there's also no game that has made me feel as dumb as Zelda as well.
Good luck. Breath of the Wild, but now more specifically Tears of the Kingdom, is just overflowing with gameplay hours and just opportunity, really. It's such a cool game, one that honestly kind of caught us off guard a little bit, and you should check it out.
I do wish the combat was a bit better though. Like if they improved the combat ever so slightly, like it was a little bit better, a little bit more responsive, a little bit easier to use, and maybe a little bit more options instead of and then, you know, you could do it like a flurry rush, and then you got some arrows as well, then that would be great. I mean, you can fuse together your weapons to make them better. You have different types of weapons. That's great. But there's maybe some different moves that you could do, maybe different ways to approach different enemies. I think that would be really cool. Baby steps, Link has just learned how to jump. They did put jump in it, which makes it the greatest game of all time after Baldur's Gate.